From dog tags to ownership, heroes take the lead. Stories of veterans building dreams with passion, drive, and speed. From service to success, we're here to inspire the quest. Dog tags to ownership, we're the best. Take the prize.
From the battlefield to the boardroom, this is Dog Tags to Ownership, the podcast where veterans share their journeys from serving our nation to leading in business. Hear inspiring stories of grit, growth, and the entrepreneurial spirit that drives those who serve to succeed. Tune in and take the first step toward your own mission in entrepreneurship.
Military One Percenters, welcome to Dog Tags to Ownership, where once a week we interview veterans who charted a path towards entrepreneurship. Here, our goals are to share resources, advice, and success stories about starting a business, discuss strategies for building financial independence and creating your own path, and most importantly, build a community to support each other through the challenges of transitioning from service life to civilian ownership. Today, we are extremely excited to introduce our guest to the show, Joe Yurick. Joe is a U.S. Army combat veteran, small business owner, and the host of this Sober Vet podcast with a mission to normalize sobriety in veterans. Joe, welcome to the podcast, and thank you so much for joining us today to discuss your journey from dog tags to ownership. How are you?
I'm doing outstanding. Thanks for having me. It's an honor.
We're really glad that you came. We're really glad that you came on today and that you reached out. I think your mission and your story is super important to a lot of our veterans that are out there. And just having you come on to tell your story and what the Sober Vet podcast is and what you're trying to do for that community, I think is huge. So, but before, just to get into it, can you first just tell our listeners and followers a little bit about yourself and your military service?
Yeah, absolutely. So my senior year, I graduated in 2000, and halfway through my senior year, quick thing, I was a class clown at Zero Direction. I viewed every classroom as an audience. I had my own desk in the in-school suspension room. I was on academic probation for my senior prom. I wasn't bad. I wouldn't shut up. Like, I was like a Jim Carrey type. So halfway through my senior year, my best friend came up to me and was like, "Hey, I've been talking to an Army recruiter. We could join in something called the Buddy Program." So I was like, "All right, dude, I got your six. Let's do it." So we signed up in the delayed entry program halfway through my senior year. 2 weeks before we were supposed to leave in August, he calls me and says, "Hey, dude, I'm not going." I was like, "What do you mean you're not? Like, this was your idea." So I got roped in. It wasn't really my plan. I was doing it to have my buddies back, but here I am. I joined in 2000. I did boot camp at Fort Sill, Lawton, Oklahoma. I did my AIT at Fort Bliss in El Paso, Texas, where I learned how to work with the Patriot missile system. And it was funny because, again, in high school, I didn't apply myself at all. Like, I was just having fun. And my dad always told me how intelligent I was. So in AIT, I was like, you know what? This is going to be my time to show my dad that I really am dumb, because I'm going to try 100% and probably not do well. So I tried 100%. I focused. I had zero distractions, and I ended up graduating as an honor grad in AIT. So I was like, oh, snap, my dad was right. Like, I should have listened to him way sooner. And then I stayed at Fort Bliss for my first duty station. And then 9 months later, as we all know, 9/11 happened. A couple months after that, we ended up railroading all of our equipment, sent it down to Corpus Christi. That got on a boat, and then we met our equipment over in Qatar. Our first mission over there, I was right at the cusp of Iraqi freedom and enduring freedom, and we had set up all our launchers up in northern Qatar in a place called Ras Laffan, because we were protecting Central Command from any Scuds, incoming planes, anything that was in the air. If it flies, it dies. And then as Third ID was taking over Baghdad, the air threat was kind of diminishing. So then we broke everything down, put our equipment on this really cool boat, went up the Gulf, and then we re-emplaced right outside of Kuwait City. And then Third ID took over Baghdad. And at that point, there was no air threat. So we sent our equipment home. We stayed in country to do details with other units and stuff. And actually, I was stop lost. Our MOS, they held us, I think it was like 11 months due to the war. And I had originally signed up for 3 years, and I had college lined up and life lined up, but needs of the government. So because we were at where I got stop lost, and yeah, so that's my military journey in a nutshell. I got out as E4, proud E4 Mafia member. And
What prompted you to get out? You just were like, hey, I did my term of service, and now I want to do something else. What did that look like for you?
it was a combination of things. I think part of it was the leadership. Part of it was some of the situations we were put in that to me that just did not make sense and really didn't put like our lives as a priority. Then when I got back, they attempted me with Germany. They're like, if you re-enlist, we'll send you to Germany, which I really did want to do. But then I was like, you know what? Like I literally just survived a deployment. I have all my limbs and my sanity, at least I thought. And so I was like, me and Uncle Sam are squares. So I just got an honorable discharge and got out in early '04.
Did you have a plan in place when you got out, or what did that transition process look like for you? Was it a good one or a not so good one?
So, like I said, I had college lined up originally, but the stop loss kind of messed all that up. So when I first got out, I really had no direction or purpose. I was just happy to be out. And then I stayed with my parents for a little bit until they realized that my drinking was out of control. And then I was like, I don't need my parents telling me what I can and can't drink. So I ended up getting an apartment, and then I was just alone. Like I tried to hang out with my buddies before. They saw a big difference in me. I was still funny, but my humor was way darker. My drinking was very escalated, and yeah, it was just kind of different. So then like I just kind of stayed to myself for a while. Now, when I first got to El Paso, it's all the way in Western Texas, and we're right near Juarez, Mexico. And in Juarez, you only had to be 18 to drink.
Mm.
So when I was in, they made the drinking age on post at Fort Bliss 18 in order to keep soldiers stateside.
Mm.
So while it was a blast, because I'm like, wait, I could go down to class 6 and buy anything I want. I have no parental supervision. I'm just chilling in the barracks. Like, this is amazing. And we had a lot of good parties, a lot of good times. And at the time, I had a blast, but I didn't realize it was really setting me up for failure later in life.
Yeah, that's a tough leadership decision, I guess. Do we want soldiers going down across the border into Mexico, or do we want to try to keep them on post?
Mhm.
That's tough. But
Yeah.
yeah, so do you want to talk a little bit more about kind of what that all, how it sort of spiraled out of control for you and how it's maybe led to what you're doing today?
Yeah, absolutely. So back to the Juarez thing, we called it J Town, and sometimes in between pay periods when we were broke, we would still go down there. I think I'm outside of the statute of limitations now. I can't get in trouble for it. But in hindsight, it was so stupid because like the cartel was very strong down there. It's just a dangerous place to be. Now we would never go less than like 6 or 8 people deep, but we stuck out like a sore thumb. I mean, we all had the high and tights. We had the tan line here. Like you could tell we were soldiers. And yeah, there was this bar called the Tequila Derby. It was $10 at the door, drink and drown. So if you get there at 8 p.m., you can stay there and drink until 2 a.m. off that $10. Like you can't beat that. Yeah, it was crazy. Um, so a combination of that, a combination of just being in the barracks, doing dumb stuff, playing Edward 40 hands. Oh, I got an Article 15 for drunk on duty, which was obviously alcohol related. We had an influx of soldiers, and on Friday at final formation, first sergeant's like, "Hey, if you don't have a roommate, get a roommate, or come Monday, I'm going to give you a roommate." So me and my buddy look at each other. We're like, "Hey, you want to bunk up?" We're like, "Yeah." So all weekend we spent like pimping our room out, just combining it, making it look really nice. And then on Sunday, literally at like 1800 on Sunday, my buddy was like, "Hey, I'm gonna walk down to class 6 because we got Chris in the room, right?" And I was like, "Oh, okay." What? Not thinking much of it, thinking he might get like a 12 pack or something. This guy comes back with a freaking big bottle of 151 and a 2 liter of Coke, and I'm like, "What are we doing?" He's like, "Just hear me out." He's like, "We're going to make one mixed drink, 151 and Coke, and then every 15 minutes, we're going to have a shot until this bottle's empty." And being dumb and just, yeah, I was like, okay. So, needless to say, the next morning, we did not wake up in time for formation. Um, one of the NCOs had to pretty much kick down our door. My buddy was sleeping on the toilet because he was throwing up. I was sleeping next to a big pile of throw up. And as soon as he saw us, he was like, "Get down to formation. Don't even change." So we're like, "Oh, crap." After formation was released, he took us right to William Beaumont, the hospital right off post, got our BAC. And yeah, I got Article 15. I got knocked down from a PFC back to an E1, had to do 60 days of extra duty, which this is where the addict in me comes in. So on extra duty, we would have to do site beautification. So every day after final formation, we would go somewhere on post and just clean up, weed whack. On the weekends, though, we would usually go to the off post housing and we would stop at the class 6, grab like some lunch and some Gatorades and head out there. Well, while our NCO wasn't looking, I would grab the little airplane bottles of liquor because they were right at the cash register, put them in my cargo pocket, and wherever we would get to site beautification, me and my buddy, who both got in trouble together, would grab weed whackers and say, hey, sorry, we're going to head down there, start weed whacking our way back. And he'd be like, oh, whatever. We would head down there, pound these bottles, toss them, and then start weed whacking. Like, we were ridiculous.
I think though, like what you're talking about, I think a lot of soldiers have that. They leave home, they go to the military, they go live in the barracks, first time really away from home, like you had said for you. And so I don't think that's an uncommon story necessarily for folks, but I think like with that and what you're doing now, when you got out, were you still an addict? I'm assuming, and then is that what really got you into founding the Sober Vet podcast, and then getting on your business journey?
Well, when I got out, I didn't realize I was an addict because to me, there's 3 steps of addiction. There's fun with problems, and then there's problems. But when you're the addict, you don't realize you're in the problem stage. You think you're a victim of everything. My drinking continued, and then I met my wife at a bar of all places. So as our relationship blossomed, my drinking continued. But then it got to a point where my wife was noticing that I was starting to look drunk around my kids, and I'll slur my words. So then she had a heart to heart with me and was like, listen, you don't have to stop drinking, but let's regulate it. Let's say, let's only drink on the weekends, Fridays, Saturdays, Sunday, and only have 3 beers. So I'm like, okay. But the ego in me was like, I having 3 beers. So then I started to sneak things. I would get like a 5th of Southern Comfort. I would hide it strategically in my house. And during the evening, just doing normal chores or just walking around, I would, boom, have a shot, sneak a shot. So in front of my wife, I'm drinking the 3 beers as we agreed upon, but I'm actually like getting way more wasted than I should be because I'm pounding these shots. So that kind of progressed because with alcohol, your tolerance only goes up. So now I need more to get to that good buzz, which is a problem. And then I became a business owner. With business ownership, networking is key. Like I always say, you have to network to get work. And a lot of these events are at bars after hours. So now I'm drinking while networking, and it's so stupid in hindsight because I own a junk removal company where we drive trucks to our customer's house, clean them out, drive to the landfill, the metal yard, the donation center, what have it. And here I am, like going to these networked events, getting a nice buzz on, then driving home. Like I was so lucky I never got a DUI because I'd have to shut down my business. One night after a networking event, I I drank a little at the networking event, but on the way home, I knew my wife wasn't going to be home for a while. So I stopped at the liquor store, stopped at Wawa, got a 20 ounce of Coke, mixed them, pounded it on the way home. So that way I could stop at another Wawa, throw it out. So there's no evidence. And I wouldn't technically be drunk because I was actively drinking. This was my mind frame. But by the time I got home, like maybe wait a half hour, then it would kind of kick in. So it hit me really hard that day. I ended up passing out on the couch. It couldn't have been 5 o'clock. It was probably 4:30 that I had passed out. My wife comes home, finds me sleeping. She's like, enough's enough. I'm tired of this. I have to find this guy's stash. So while I'm passed out, she took the opportunity to like scour through the whole house. She found my stash in the basement of empty Southern Comfort bottles. And I was dumb. I had the receipts with the bottles. So she's like, these were just bought days from each other. She's like, this is a problem. So while passed out, she put all the empties next to the end table on the couch and took a picture. So now she had evidence. So the next day she was like, we need to talk. She takes me to the front porch and she's like, I've done everything I can to get you to regulate this. You're obviously drinking more than I even thought you were. And I've had enough. So you got to go. And I'm like, what do you mean I got to go? Like, this is my house. I pay the mortgage. Like, cause she had threatened me in the past, like that she was going to take the kids and leave, but like that never happened. So for her to say that I had to go, it like totally threw me off because I run my business out of my home. I'm like, where am I supposed to go? I work out of my home. And she was like, I don't know, but me and the kids have done nothing wrong. and I'm tired of it. So you have to go. You either stop drinking right now or you're out of here. And I'm like, crap. And like, I'm a child of divorce. And my wife and I spoke about this before we got married. I was like, listen, whatever life throws us, we have to work out because I don't want our kids to go through that. Literally, the only thing good about divorce is Christmas because you get twice the gifts, but everything else sucks. So when she gave me that ultimatum, it literally scared me straight because I had to think about it like, I'm choosing to put this liquid to my lips and destroying not only myself, but now my wife, who is the love of my life, who literally has my last name. We built this amazing family together. We have this house that we're super proud of. She literally is my rock. And I'm like, wow, like I'm affecting this woman to the point where she's willing to leave me just because I'm drinking alcohol. I was like, all right, I'll stop today. Why don't we do like, when you're an addict, stopping forever is unobtainable. So I was like, how about this? I'll stop for 6 months. At the end of 6 months, I'll reassess. But yeah, we'll stop today, cold turkey, which in hindsight was dangerous too. Any listeners out there who are actively drinking, I do not recommend, especially if you're drinking the amount that I was, stopping cold turkey because you literally could die from the withdrawal. So seek medical attention as you're either weaning off or just talk to a doctor to see if you can quit cold turkey. But yeah, I quit that day. And honestly, it was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, but it's also the most rewarding. I never sugarcoat sobriety because now I preach all the good stuff that I've been sober 3.5 years, everything's great. But literally doing it, it was the hardest thing I've ever done because once I quit, I literally felt like an armor was taken off of me and now I'm like nakedly exposed to the world. I felt like I was unplugged from the matrix. I was starting to feel and have to deal with my emotions now because I had nothing to suppress them and numb them. And it was scary, dude. Like in the beginning, it was really tough. But my wife was totally my rock. I saw a therapist. I found a male therapist because honestly, nobody can do sobriety alone. You have to find a support system. You have to find a tribe. I tried AA. It wasn't for me because like I was lucky enough that I didn't quote unquote hit my rock bottom, which I don't like the term rock bottom. I like to call it an aha moment. But my aha moment was my wife giving me that ultimatum. And when I went to the AA, I just didn't jive there. So I really relied heavily on my therapist, my wife, and my religion. God definitely got me through a lot. Well, a couple months into it, I started gaining a little bit of my confidence back because now I'm making these little wins where like, oh, something terrible happened at work. Normally I would go home and drink and, oh, I can't drink now. I have to sit with this. I have to deal with it. So I'm talking it out with my wife. I'm just dealing with these emotions. And then the next day I woke up like, huh, I got through it without alcohol. That was interesting. And then something really good would happen and I'd want to celebrate with alcohol. And instead I would go to Giant and I would buy a dozen cookies and that would be my celebration. I'm like, I'm going to eat 6 cookies and that'll be it. And I woke up the next morning without a hangover, without regret. And I'm like, huh, I just got through a celebration without getting drunk. Like, this is kind of interesting. So by the time I hit 6 months, I had reassessed everything. I sat down with my wife. The only thing that I was missing was selfish. I was missing the buzz, the social aspect. Like I was missing that part of drinking. Everything else was better. My health was better because I was sleeping better. I literally lost 50 pounds because I was drinking double IPAs with that. I was like tripling my daily caloric intake with these beers. So by eliminating that, dude, the weight just like shed off of me. My relationships with my wife, my kids, my friends, everything got better. My business got better because I wasn't like writing things down to remember. I actually remembered conversations with people, promises, and my schedule, my money. Dude, you never realize how much money you are pissing away when you drink. And not only the drinking part, then you make dumb decisions because you start doom scrolling and now you're like, I need this sign or I need whatever stupid thing is. And then like a week later, you get something in your mail. You're like, I don't even remember ordering that. Talked to my wife and I was like, let's do another 6 months because this is actually going pretty good now. Let me backtrack real quick. So when you first quit drinking, you really notice how much time you waste drinking. I immediately became so bored that the devil's in my head, like, oh, you need a drink, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I have to do something to get my mind off of this. So I started doing what I call a weekly celebration of sobriety. Every Saturday morning when my schedule would allow it, I started doing these ruck marches. I found a really nice ruck pack on a job. I filled it with enough just stuff to get through like 3 or 4 days out in the woods if I ever did get lost. So it weighs like 40, 50 pounds. So every Saturday morning, I do a 5 mile trail. It's not too far from my house. And I do that to kind of clear my mind, give me something to do, hold myself accountable, because if I were to slip up and drink on a Friday night, the last thing I would want to do hungover is a freaking ruck march. So I started doing these, and then in the woods, while I was drinking, I would take a lot of walks, and I would get inspiration for like ideas for videos, for marketing, just things with my business. Cause like I'm a Capricorn, I'm earth sign. So like just being in the woods, I would always just have these amazing ideas come to me. Well, for the first 6 months, nothing. I'd be in the woods and I'm like crickets, but I stuck with it. So at about like the 8, 9 month mark, I'm kind of getting frustrated with God, because I'm thinking like, here I am doing the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. I'm sober. I'm fully able. I'm not getting any inspiration for anything. Like, what is happening? So I literally have a conversation with God, and I'm like, Lord, like, use me. Here I am. Send me. I'm sober now. I'm doing what I would think you would want me to do. Like, I've had nothing in the last 8 months. Like, give me something, some sort of purpose, or something more than what I'm doing now. And literally, clear as day in my head, I heard this sober vet. I'm like, this sober vet, like, what is that? Is that a podcast? Now, Grant, I'd never listened to podcasts before. I was not that type of person. But then I started thinking, I was like, that's actually pretty cool, because I could share with the world how normalizing sobriety with veterans should be a new discussion, because that's a conversation I've never heard. So then I'm thinking, I know 3 other vets who are sober. I could get them on. I'm going a million miles a minute. I get home, I tell my wife I'm on fire, and she's like, that's a good idea and all, but like, you're just one vet that stopped drinking. Like, you have no credentials. I was like, yeah. She was like, you need a veteran therapist that could be your co-host, because they would at least have credentials, and you could tell your story, and they could come with like facts and scientists and stuff. And I was like, yeah, you're right. That's a good idea. Well, being a business owner, I thought my network was massive. So I started reaching out. Apparently, I know 1,000 veterans, and I know 100 therapists. I couldn't find one therapist that was a vet. So literally like a month and a half, 2 months goes by, and I'm like, here I am. I challenge God. He gave me something, a jewel that I could just run with, and I'm already letting him down. I can't even find someone to do this with. So I'm scrolling through IG before church on a Sunday morning, and I see a post by Sergeant Thomas, who was our supply sergeant when we deployed. She had posted about Evolve Therapy. She's a practicing therapist in West Virginia. I DM'd her right then. I was like, hey, Sergeant T, I have this really cool idea. Can you give me a call? And I haven't talked to her at this point in 21 years. So she calls me up. I told her about my journey, what I'm doing. And she was like, that's outstanding. She was like, I would be honored. So now it's me and Dr. T. Episode 1 was my story, because I figured I can't expect my guests to be vulnerable if I didn't lead by example. So episode 1 is my story. I also introduced Dr. T. Episode 2, moving forward, we have other veterans, male and female, all branches, telling their sobriety stories. And it's not just alcohol. It's all sorts of addictions. And we do this in hopes to be, we want to be a ray of light for those still in the dark, because especially like it's ingrained in our culture, and no one's talking about sobriety with veterans. So I'm just honored to be a part of this journey.
No, it's an amazing story, Joe. And I
Thank you.
know Julie and I can certainly speak firsthand on arriving, at our first duty station at Fort Campbell, and being 45 minutes from Nashville, and just as you've touched on, that culture to fit in, to get along, even as we were trying to probably climb ranks, there's that expectation of, no, you're not going to leave. You're going to have some drinks and stay. Is, the right arm nights and all those functions where there's that expectation that you'll have a drink. So I was trying to do some reflection, as you were speaking, like throughout my career, if it got any better or worse, but it's hard because you tend to get removed maybe from the ground, right? Like where Joe is at, and coming into the military, like Are those things still happening in the barracks? Probably 100% they are.
Mhm.
And being able to give another option to someone that might be getting to the point where it's out of control, or getting to the point that it's starting to control their life and leading to bad decisions. And I'm glad you made that clarification about rock bottom, because I don't think you were at rock bottom as you were telling your story. You were married, kids, business, a lot of good things going for you. So it was great that you had that aha moment when you did it.
Yeah, and I also think, Joe, just by you telling the story, your vulnerability, also for our listeners and followers, and we've had folks on the podcast already who have said like, "Hey, I was an alcoholic. I'm no longer an alcoholic. You know, I'm in sobriety now." But you sharing that, and then they are also business owners. You being a business owner with your family, and a lot of them has said, you know, they have come on and have opened up and been vulnerable about that. Have also said like their spouse, their kids, like that is what helped them get through it, and just by you like talking about that and explaining that, and just providing that, I think is super helpful. And like I said at the very beginning, just like what you're doing with the Sober Vet podcast, I think is amazing.
So years later now, how do you feel like your relationship with alcohol? Is it something you even think about now? Or I mean, how do you think about alcohol at this point?
So it gets better with time. My initial thought with alcohol is I'd never wanted to pass these lips again because I don't want to go through withdrawal again. Now I'm at the point where I can go out to a bar, be fine. I could hang out at a networking event. I could smell alcohol in someone's breath as they're talking to me. I'm totally fine because it just reminds me like, oh, I never want to do that again. I feel that with time, it gets better where I think about it less and I think about the buzz less and all the things that I glorified about alcohol, I think about less as time goes on because now I'm focused on like I'm way more productive now. I haven't woken up with a hangover in 3.5 years. I'm present with my family. My wife can trust where I am because back in the day, I would say, yeah, I'm here when I'm really at a bar doing bad stuff. There's just everything on this side of it is so much better that that's where my focus is now. And it's funny because people ask all the time, like, do you have any regrets from quitting drinking and being sober? And there is one regret I have. I wish I did this shit like 20 years ago, like, because I could only imagine where I would be now if I quit drinking 20 years ago. But my journey's my journey. I drank as long as I did for a reason, and I'm here sober, just like God wanted me to be, and I literally have no regrets.
So with coming on our podcast, you want to get into your business a bit and just switch gears a little bit, if that's all
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. So I own two J-Dog franchises. It's J-Dog Junk Removal and Hauling. We're veteran owned and operated. And what attracted me to this franchise was prior to this, I never really got to celebrate the fact that I was a vet. Like if you knew me, you knew I was a vet, but I wasn't like walking around like, hey, you thank me for my service. Just I kept it to myself. But in this business, our trucks are wrapped in woodland camo. We're veteran owned and operated. And we do so much good for the community because we're in such a unique situation where with junk removal, we come across all sorts of items. So we have a warehouse where anything that we could repurpose, we take to our warehouse, we do our best to keep things out of the landfill. And there's two functions for that warehouse. Number one, we donate to veterans in need. For example, 2 years ago in Lancaster, literally on New Year's Day, there was a fire in a duplex. And the family on the one side, the gentleman was an Army vet. He had two kids. He had reached out to the Lebanon VA, was like, I just lost everything. I need help. They told him to call me. I met him and his wife at our warehouse. I was like, dude, anything you want, I got you. And it was funny. His wife's like, well, how much is this? How much is that? I was like, man, your husband has a DD-214. He's already paid for this stuff. So we ended up donating a full trailer's worth of furniture. Anything they picked out, we donated. We brought it to their new apartment, took everything in the house, the bedroom and the bed set, the living room set in the living room, the dining room set in the, like we set it all up for them. And the only thing I asked for him was, can you pose for a picture so I could post this on Facebook? That was it. It's just our way of giving back. And that's what I love about our industry is because it is that unique that we're in a situation where we get paid to pick up items that aren't always all junk. And why not give back to our brothers and sisters? Another thing I like is we put veterans to work. So all my guys We happen to be all Army vets right now. I don't discriminate, just happen to work out that way. But that's half the joy of like when we show up to a customer's house, mainly veterans or family members of vets hire us. And the first thing you do is, what branch were you in? Where'd you go? Like there's just an immediate level of trust. And I've never seen anything like, because I've been in different industries before, but it's just so cool. The other day we were in a basement. It was a Marine that hired us, and we were doing a basement clean out, and he was kind of going through this one pile, and he pulled up the Marine crest. And I was like, "Do you want to keep that to color it in?" And he just kind of shoots me this look, and my truck commander was like, "Oh crap!" And he just smiles real big. He was like, "Nice." And I just met this dude, but here I am making fun of it. Like it's how we are. It's that military bond. And I love it. I really enjoy what I do. I've been doing this for 8 years. We've done so much for the community.
It sounds like, Joe, for you, main purpose that you have with the businesses that you have, and then now the Sober Vet podcast, is just giving back and helping military members. And from us, Dog Tags Ownership, that our big thing is to build a community to help military members and veterans who want to get into entrepreneurship or ownership, and then also ownership over their life. What you do is just like part of that community that we're trying to build as well. I just think it's awesome. I guess with that though, where do you see your podcast going, or this Sober Vet? You're about to hit the end of season 1, going 1 year, and then your businesses too. Like, is that something you're going to continue to do to give back to the veteran and military community?
So real quick before I answer that, one thing I did want to mention, being a franchise, I do have a love-hate with certain things of being a franchise. But one thing that's cool about it is the reach is way bigger than I could ever do on my own. So in the beginning, I noticed when we were knocking on doors, customers would open the door and see like I'm 6'2" and I'm decent build, and we wear woodland camo pants, a J-Dog shirt, and a hat. Like we almost look intimidating. And I realized that our customers were like kind of just looking at us like, oh, who are these guys? And I was like, man, the veteran thing's backfiring. We need to show these people that we're here to help. So I started making these videos, making fun of ourselves, wearing things we would find on jobs, just like stupid videos. In one, I made my truck a dog. I called him Brutus. I took him for a walk down the street. I play fetch with him. My truck goes after the ball. Like just dumb videos to get the community to kind of have our back. Like, oh, these guys are great. So somehow one of these videos came off a Hollywood producer's desk. This guy, Jim Millio, who did the 911 shows when we were younger. He did the Jacques Cousteau Deep Sea Adventures, and most recently, the Dog Whisperer with Cesar Millan. So he reached out to headquarters and was like, I really like your guys' mission. We might have a TV show idea here. So they reached out to me and were like, would you be interested to do a sizzle for this show? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. So they came out, they filmed us doing a couple jobs, couple donations, and then they shopped it around. And we actually were picked up by the Discovery Channel and the American Hero Network. So we filmed a full season, which is 10 episodes. Me and my crew were in 9 of them. It aired on the Discovery Channel and the American Hero Network. It's called Operation Hidden Treasures. Right now, it lives on an app called Tubi, which is a free app. So if you go to Tubi and search Operation Hidden Treasures, you'll see me, but I was a little fatter because I was still drinking back then. But yeah, it was a great show. Sunday mornings before church, I would sit down with my family. It was on at 8 a.m. Sunday, sit down with my kids, and they would watch Dad on TV. That is a memory my kids will have forever, and I'm truly grateful for. So again, the joys of being a franchise is the reach is way bigger than I could do myself. I am actually in the process of selling my territories because I want to focus on this Sober Vet full time. And to answer your question on where I'm going with this Sober Vet is we're only a year into this. I started only knowing 3 guests. First one was me. Second one was my truck commander. And then the third one was a female that I deployed with. After that, I kind of gave it up to God. Well, just by advertising on social media and people hearing about our mission, we're booked out to episode 32 right now. So like
Awesome.
thank you. That tells me there's a need for what we're doing. So my biggest hurdle right now is awareness, but I want to get this podcast so big that like I want to be Joe Rogan level. I want everyone to know about this Sober Vet. I wanted to normalize sobriety in veterans to the point where a ripple effect of it will bring that 22 a day number down, because if you've done any research on that, number one, the number's low, and number two, most of those people making that horrendous decision have some sort of substance in them when they're doing that.
Hmm.
So if we could normalize sobriety with veterans, that ripple effect should bring that number down. And one of my guests, Michael DeGrave, I think he was episode like 7 or 8. He brought up a good point. He's like, listen, if you're a vet and you want to hurt yourself, go on a ruck march on a Saturday morning. Go join jujitsu. There's a million things you could do to hurt yourself, but you'll still be here the next day so you could hug your family. Like, if you enjoy pain, let's get healthy pain out there. Like, just don't do the suicide route. So that's one of the ultimate goals, is to help bring that number down. But I see us getting so big that at one point there should be a This Sober Vet Germany, a This Sober Vet Japan, a This Sober Vet Canada. This isn't an American problem. This is soldiers worldwide, because we see things that people aren't really meant to see. So the only way we're allowed to deal with it is by drinking, because you can't smoke weed while you're in or do pills or whatever. So yeah, we turn to that. So I see this being global, and I just want to help as many people as possible, because I told my wife this before. If we could motivate one veteran to quit drinking, or at least consider it per episode, mission accomplished.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think, Joe, to take it a step further, not even necessarily helping a veteran, just helping anyone that's struggling, right, with substance abuse or has had some challenges, and they want an outlet and they want to hear success stories or people that have overcome adversity. Julie and I have talked about that on our podcast. It doesn't have to be just veterans on here that want to get into business ownership. It could be anyone, right? It still provides a lot of tangible, real tools and ideas, I think, to take someone from where they are today, to finding that true purpose. I think a lot of what you're saying is what we strive for on this podcast, which is, I don't really like the Simon Sinek thing of finding your why, but I'll say it anyways. But finding your why or finding your purpose is so important too, I think. And you've certainly found that with your podcast, I think. For you to want to sell your business and go all in on this, that tells me that's your big P. That's your purpose right now.
Absolutely. Yeah. And being a business owner is tough, because it's a double-edged sword. It kind of allowed my alcoholism to continue, because I'm the boss. Who's going to tell me what? And I'm already out doing these networking things. So to all the business owners listening, be careful, because when you put your ego up front and nobody can't tell you nothing, that's a problem. You need to be humble as a boss. You need to be a good example, because now that I'm clear and sober, I'm so much of a better boss, in my opinion.
That's great advice.
All right, Joe. So I think we're going to get to closing up, but before we get to our final 2 questions, is there anything that we didn't ask you today that you would like to talk about?
I would definitely recommend business ownership, because it's the best way to find out your flaws and what you're lacking, because you could be really good at one thing, like, oh yeah, I could be a business owner. But when it really comes down to it, when you're in business and it's good, hey, that's great. But when you're in business and it's bad, that's on you. You're the only one that can fix it. And that's a scary thing to deal with, because again, your flaws.
Love that.
Yeah. All right, Matt.
Oh, it's my turn for questions. So Joe, besides listening to the Dog Tags to Ownership or this Sober Vet podcast, what would you recommend to our listeners to check out, listen to, read, doesn't matter, anything that was maybe pivotal in your success in your path to sobriety, or something that's in line with business ownership?
So I honestly don't listen to many podcasts. I do listen to Joe Rogan podcast, because he has just so many different types of people, and just whatever you're into, you could find some of his podcasts that discuss that thing. I'm more of a reader. I really enjoy reading. And people always ask me what my favorite book was. To me, my favorite book is the one I just finished reading, because it's fresh in my mind. And that right now for me was by Bruce Lee's daughter, Shannon Lee. It's called Be Water, My Friends. And I've always respected Bruce Lee, because he was just like a superhuman. And to hear these stories from his daughter's eyes was very cool. And it really just kind of reminds you to, number one, be authentic, dude, because there's so much fakeness out there, and what people think they should be or how they want the world to pursue them. But if you put on a mask like that, it's only a matter of time till someone sees behind the mask and goes, this guy's a phony. If you could just approach everything authentically, you never have to worry about that. You never have to put on a mask. If you just be you and find your purpose, and just to hear her and how she admired her dad, and it's an amazing book. I would highly recommend.
So good. That's so good. Thanks.
Joe, our last question for every episode is Admiral William McRaven authored the book Make Your Bed, Little Things That Can Change Your Life and Maybe the World. So, Joe, do you make your bed every day?
Every day. I have such a regiment because if I don't start my day with wins, my day goes to crap. So literally, even at night, like there's certain things throughout the day that I do religiously, like that ruck march every Saturday. Like there's things where I don't waver on because if I waver, I'm weird in the sense that I feel like I have to pay the rent or I have to earn today. If I don't earn today, I wasted today, and life is way too short to waste a day. So you have to earn it by getting out of bed, making your bed, brushing your teeth, shaving. Like all these little wins make success easier because then it's just a part of your routine. You don't have to think about it. So yes, I'm very about that.
Joe, thanks thanks so much for spending some time with us today and just really having a candid conversation and opening up about your experience, as well as getting into a little bit of what you're doing on the entrepreneurial side. And we just certainly wish you the most success, and I hope you do become the Joe Rogan of the sober vet community, and it just continues to grow and gain momentum. So good luck with everything, and maybe we can do another episode here in the future and check back in with you and see how everything's going.
I would love that. Thank you very much. And I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Military One Percenters, whether you're brainstorming your first business idea, already running a company, or just curious about where to start, Dog Tags the Ownership is the place for you. Please hit that subscribe button to receive all new episodes. Also, if you know someone who has turned their dog tags into ownership, drop us a DM on social media or tag someone. We are always looking for new guests to bring onto the podcast. And as always, Military One Percenters, thank you for your service. Let's continue this journey and working together to write our next chapter. Until next week, keep pushing to turn those dog tags into ownership.
From dog tags to ownership, heroes take the lead. Stories of veterans building trains with passion, drive, and speed. From service to success, we're here to inspire the quest. Dog tags to ownership, we're the best. Take the prize.